USC's next generation of NFL players showed out their skills to the pros.
March is officially upon us. USC women's hoops got rich in Vegas, taking home the Pac-12 Tournament crown.
And the Dodgers opened up their season in South Korea. All that and more next on Sports Scene.
Welcome back to Sports Scene. I'm Terrence Holton.
I'm Will Simons, filling in for Grace Schneider.
And I'm Casey Kasliner. Let's get into the madness. USC Pro Day commenced earlier today with NFL scouts eyeing the Trojans' top talent. Caleb Williams, who didn't throw at the NFL Combine, did participate at the Pro Day. Williams, the expected #1 overall pick, shouldn't have to worry much about his draft stock. However, more under-the-radar players could make or break their draft position based on performances.
It's great. I don't think I really need to learn much, just building a relationship. They're trying to see if I'm the right fit to be first pick as a QB and go and possibly as a face of franchise. They're trying to figure out if this is the guy that they should invest all the time, energy, effort, and money into, which is obviously important in this situation. So, it was great, and just building relationships.
Williams isn't the only highly touted Trojan prospect, though. Marshawn Lloyd, Brendan Rice, Taj Washington, and Kalen Bullock are among the handful of USC players that hope their measurables and workouts impress pro scouts. As expected, personnel from some of the early drafting teams made appearances at the event. The Chicago Bears, who owned the first overall pick, even brought along newly acquired wideout Keenan Allen. The Washington Commanders will pick second, but head coach Dan Quinn still made the trip. So, assuming he's selected by Chicago, is Caleb Williams going to be a good player with the Bears? Is he going to make an impact?
I'm going to apologize to our producer Hayes before I say this. Absolutely not. I think the Chicago Bears are a terrible franchise. I think they're poorly run, poorly coached. I just think he's being set up to fail. Look at Justin Fields.
We've seen poorly run franchises in the city of Chicago turn around bad teams into contenders. Look at the Bulls before they had Jordan. Look at the Cubs before they won the World Series. Chicago knows how to turn teams around. I know their draft history of picking quarterbacks has been god-awful, but look, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, this is going to be a good team. Those are a good pair of receivers to have for a new guy coming into the league. I'm loving this pick. I want Caleb Williams to succeed, and I think he will on the Chicago Bears team.
You're not wrong that he's set up arguably the best that any #1 pick quarterback ever has been. I'm not trusting his receivers, his running backs, even the tight end, Cole Kmet. I'm not trusting the organization and the coach and Matt Eberflus. I think he's terrible. And another thing I'm scared about, I think when Matt Eberflus gets fired, I think Lincoln Riley's going to go running to the Bears. I just think it's going to happen. Maybe I'm a skeptic.
Let me ask you this. Would that work out, you think?
Yes. Because I'm a Lincoln Riley supporter. I think it'll happen.
Well, head coaches can be replaced, and who knows how long Eberflus will stick around, but I think Caleb is going to be a staple of their franchise for the next 2 decades, so book it right now.
I don't know, man. I just don't trust with Fields and Mitch Trubisky. Whatever, man.
Whatever, we'll see. But now over to Will to recap women's basketball's jackpot-winning weekend in Sin City.
USC women's basketball came out on top in the final iteration of the Pac-12 Tournament, beating Arizona, UCLA, and Stanford on their way to a title. Though Juju Watkins was the star of the Trojans' first win over the Cardinal, Mackenzie Forbes was the key in the Pac-12 final. She had 26 points to lead USC to a 74-61 win. But that wasn't even the most dramatic win of the tournament for the Trojans. Head coach Lindsey Gottlieb recapped her team's double overtime win over UCLA in the semis.
I think obviously words aren't going to feel like it does it justice. What an epic evening for women's college basketball, for our program, for the LA rivalry. Michelle, you asked the other day about is this the best tournament ever? I hope we added to that and maybe put an exclamation point on it.
Mackenzie Forbes took home the tournament's most outstanding player with her stud performance in the championship game. She'll look to continue that momentum into the NCAA tournament. And that wasn't the only player who received an honor in the past few days. Juju Watkins, who was the second in the country in scoring at 27 points per game, became the first USC player to earn AP All-American First Team honors since the award began in 1995. That Pac-12 tournament title helped USC earn the 1 seed in Sunday's NCAA tournament bracket reveal. The Trojans will play 16-seed Texas A&M Corpus Christi Saturday in the opening round. A win there, and that will advance them to play the winner of 8-seed Kansas and 9-seed Michigan on Monday. Both rounds will be played right here on USC's home court at Galen Center. Now let's head back to the studio to preview USC's March Madness matchup.
Let's reveal your next 1 seed is the USC Trojans, their first time as a 1 seed since 1986.
The Trojans locked up the number 1 seed in the West region of the NCAA tournament, where in the first round they will be taking on the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders. Looking past the first round, the Trojans have stout foes in their bracket if they want to make it to the Final Four in Cleveland, as the other top seeds include Ohio State, UConn, and Virginia Tech. The Trojans routed the Buckeyes earlier this season, however, will first likely find themselves against the winner of both Kansas or Michigan. First on the docket for the Trojans, however, is 16-seeded Texas A&M Corpus Christi. The Islanders won the Southland Conference, beating Lamar in the championship game, finishing with a record of 23-8. In the Islanders' only game against a Power 5 opponent, however, they lost 23 to Texas A&M. So, who will be the Trojans' biggest opponent on the road to the Final Four?
I'm going to go with Virginia Tech. So obviously there's a little bit of key here, and that's Elizabeth Kitley, who's dealing with a knee injury right now. But I really think, when Virginia Tech is healthy and they have both Kitley and Georgia Amore, they're one of the top teams in the country. But it really all comes down to Kitley's health, because that matchup between Kitley and Rhea Marshall would be awesome to watch and likely would happen in the Sweet 16.
Well, I want to preface this by saying I do think the Trojans can go all the way. Don't get me wrong. But I think the lack of experience at this stage and being a number 1 seed for the first time in so long could get them down. I mean, a team like UConn is one I'm looking at, a team that's had so much championship experience. So I think a team like that with a lot of experience, but we've seen and mentioned earlier, the Trojans beat Ohio State, a top team. They can ride with the big dogs, and I think they can go all the way. But a team like UConn, to me, is a team with experience that can defeat them, and hopefully that won't happen.
I agree with both of you. Paige Beckers of UConn really scares me. But I'm going to go with Ohio State. The Trojans played them earlier in the season and, of course, won. But this Ohio State team has seen USC. They know what they're going to get from Juju now. That no one knew that she was going to be phenomenal like she is. They know what they're getting now, and this team really scares me. They beat Iowa and Caitlin Clark earlier in the year. I think it's very possible they could come away with a win.
Yeah, all things considered, it's really not a bad path for USC, though. They've already beaten Ohio State, as we mentioned. UConn's dealing with a lot of injuries. They only have 8 scholarship players, and like I said, Virginia Tech's best player, Elizabeth Kitley, is still kind of questionable with her injury status. So, and if you look at the path that Iowa got and having to go through UCLA, LSU, a ton of really good teams, it's a pretty good draw for the Trojans.
What about a possible Final Four matchup of Caitlin Clark and Juju Watkins?
That would be so fun.
Electric.
It would be incredible. So it would just be amazing, right?
I couldn't wait for that. The top 2 scorers in the country. It would be the only chance for that to happen, anyways, with Caitlin Clark off to the WNBA. So I that game would be must-watch television.
Who knows? Maybe we'll be talking about it in a few weeks.
We'll see.
I wouldn't mind. Next, USC men's basketball did not have the same fortunes in Las Vegas. After a win over Washington in the first round, the Trojans' offense went silent in a 21-point loss to Arizona. Boogie Ellis had 25 points to guide USC to a win over the Huskies, but he went silent the next day against the Wildcats in the final game of his college career. The Trojans received, but then declined a bid to the NIT, which ended their season. Now for teams that actually made the NCAA tournament, that bracket was also revealed on Sunday. A chaotic conference tournament week created plenty of doubt for bubble teams. But on the top line, UConn, Houston, Purdue, and North Carolina all claimed number 1 seeds in their respective regions. UConn, the top overall seed in the bracket, looks to claim a second straight national title in the coming weeks, but there's plenty of squads capable of unseating the Huskies. We all know March is about the top teams, and instead we're looking forward to which Cinderella schools become national darlings. Guys, who are your predictions to make surprising runs in the tournament?
I'll tell you what, I'm looking at a 13 seed. The College of Charleston, they won the CAA tournament a little over a week ago. They're well rested, unlike a lot of other teams with their head coach, Pat Kelsey. They had such a gritty performance coming back late to beat Towson in the semifinal, beating a very spunky Stony Brook team in overtime. And you look at how this team profiles. They can score with the best of them, averaged 80 points a game this season. And Alabama, they can score a lot, but they are 112th in defensive efficiency. If they have a cold shooting night, Charleston is going to tear them up. You then look at the second round, they're going to play St. Mary's in all likelihood, who hasn't been to a Sweet 16 since 2010. I like Charleston's path a lot.
Guys, I'm going to take the 11 seed out of the Western region, New Mexico. I think the Lobos are one of the best teams in this region. I think they are severely underrated. Phenomenal guard play out of Donovan Dent, Jamal Mashburn Jr., and Jalen House. They ran through the Mountain West tournament, a top 4 conference in the country, in my opinion. I really think that this team is going to go far. I have them in my Final Four. I'm being completely honest.
So that's an interesting pick because I have another double-digit seed from the Mountain West that I think was totally underseeded. I'm going Nevada, and I actually have them playing New Mexico in the Sweet 16, so I somewhat agree with your pick. However, I have Nevada going past New Mexico, and I have them in my Final Four. Again, I just think the Mountain West was really underrated by the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee, and I think they have what it takes to get all the way to Arizona in the Final Four.
I'm also going with the Wolfpack, but not Nevada. NC State. Look, they're coming off of 5 wins in 5 days. We talk about March Madness being all about lightning in a bottle. DJ Burns, 20 points on the Tar Heels. They beat Duke and UNC, who were the 1 and 2 seeds in the ACC. This team is getting hot at the right time, and they're probably fatigued. 5 wins in 5 days is a lot, but they have a little bit of time to rest, get back on track, and I'm loving where this NC State Wolfpack team is going. I think they could go all the way.
Casey, I think you're going off recency bias. This NC State team is not good. They were a 10 seed in the ACC, a pretty bad conference, let's be honest.
UNC is not bad.
UNC's not bad, but Duke's not good in my opinion. Neither is Virginia. I think we know that very well.
Well, we know Virginia isn't good based on last night. But look, you win your conference, anything can happen. And talk about March. Anything can happen. I've said this a million times. And I think NC State has lightning in a bottle. They're getting hot at the right time, and they're going to go all the way.
You're right. Anything can happen, except big-time success for these Mountain West schools. I can't believe you say they're undervalued by the committee when they got twice as many teams in as the Big East did. A much better conference, according to KenPom. And you know what these Mountain West schools do? They lose in the first round. The last 2 tournaments that happened with everybody except for San Diego State. None of you mentioned San Diego State. Nevada's out in the first round. All the Mountain West schools are out in the first round.
You can't say that, though, when San Diego State was just in the national title game.
I can say it because every other school, and again, you didn't mention San Diego State, lost in the first round.
I still think that San Diego State proves that the Mountain West is more than just a team kind of on the bubble.
And Colorado State doesn't count. They played Virginia. Who shouldn't have.
Oh my! I can't believe Colorado State's going to beat Tennessee. First off, I'm just going to say that.
Oh boy.
Second, the Mountain West won over 81. I believe 81. Those top 6 teams who made the NCAA tournament, I believe, went 83-6 in out-of-conference play, beating Power 5 opponents. This is a damn good conference, and I'm incredibly excited to watch them play.
Anyways, that's all we have time for bracket predictions. We'll have plenty more of that in the next coming weeks. Anyways, after the break, we'll tell you how USC baseball picked up a big series win in Pac-12 play up at the Farm this weekend. And beach volleyball stayed hot in its quest for another national title, picking up 4 wins out in Florida. All that and more next on Sports.
Let me tell you how we amplify our Latine voices. Check out Dímelo. We have it all.
Deportes.
Entertainment. Noticias. ¿Qué tal? Soy Mariela Gómez y bienvenidos a Dime la Hora.
Radio and Podcasting.
Comida y cultura. Digital social media.
¿A qué equipo le vas tú? LA Galaxy o LAFC? Dímelo is the only Latine-focused media outlet at USC. Dímelo. We have it all.
Dímelo. We have it all.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
There's a new pet.
Chia.
Chia Pet, the pottery that grows. It's fun and easy. Soak your chia, spread the seeds, keep it watered, and watch it grow. And now grow a whole collection of fun with Chia teddy bears, puppies, kittens, rams, bulls. There's even a chia tree to keep your pets company. Chia Pets and Trees, the pottery that grows.
The Chia Pet and Chia Tree are available at Kmart, Rite Aid, Ames, and Woolworth. Makes a great gift.
USC baseball picked up its first Pac-12 series win of the year, taking down Stanford as well as a 7-3 win over Long Beach State. The Trojans came away with 2 of 3 games against the Cardinal, winning the first game 5-2, dropping the next 1-7, then rallying to win 11-8 in a thriller last Sunday. The Trojans had 12 hits, 3 of which came from right fielder Braden Dowd, who went 3 for 3 in his at-bats. Upcoming, the Trojans take on crosstown rival the UCLA Bruins. This is the first time that two foes have matched up this season, and with bragging rights on the line, things are sure to get interesting. The Bruins' Deuce Gorson leads his team in most major categories, including home runs, RBIs, and walks. Gorson will go up against USC's Caden Aoki, who has been the Trojans' Friday night starter all season. Aoki had a tough start to the season, as most USC players did, but is coming off his best outing of the season, tossing 6 innings, 1 run ball for his first quality start of the year. So, can the Trojans turn it around for the rest of the year?
Well, I think it starts with pitching, and I'm going to go to the guy you just talked about, Caden Aoki, who USC really needs to be a quality starter. I mean, that was his first quality start of the season. USC needs a lot more quality starts from him. I think, his ERA is in the 6s right now, and USC's pitching staff as a whole has really struggled. I don't have a ton of concerns about their offense, to be perfectly honest, but their starting pitching really needs to improve. And I think Aoki, we saw his last start. Maybe it's a momentum starter for him. And that maybe can, he can pass that off to the rest of the USC pitching staff.
I mean, to answer the question, I think they absolutely can turn things around. I think there's a lot of parity in the Pac-12 this season thus far. But I also think, we've got to talk about the guy. We've talked on the show before, Jacob Galloway, the catcher. He's on a 19-game hitting streak. The last time he didn't have a hit was the very first game of the season. That was against BYU. He's hitting in the 350s. He's been electric all year. And Austin O'Verne, of course, last season against UCLA, kind of previewing that, he had 5 RBIs in the Pac-12 pool tournament game. And so I think the Trojans have what it takes to beat UCLA coming up. I think they have to take things one series at a time. And like you said, get some good quality starts on the pitching end, get their hitting going, and converting base runners as well into runs.
Galloway has been phenomenal. I agree with you. He had 2 RBIs in their 11-8 win over Stanford last Sunday. However, I'm just not confident in this team being able to pull out in the Pac-12. I think the Pac-12 is a pretty decent conference this year. Yes, USC started like this last season with Stankiewicz at the helm. I'm just not confident. Maybe that's just the trend of USC sports this year, and I'm just not confident in them. I just don't feel like they can pull away with a victory.
The one thing I am encouraged by, though, is USC's having a little bit of a better start on the road this season. Obviously, games this weekend at UCLA, it's not much of a road matchup. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, if anything, they're actually playing closer to campus than down in Irvine. But I do think if there's anything about, having to play away from home all year is that it's going to help when they're, playing at other teams' stadiums. So, and this was a team that was really bad on the road last year, and they're starting off on a better foot. So I think this could be another good series to help USC play better away from home.
Well, guys, let's go to the sand. Number 1 ranked USC Beach Volleyball is currently riding a 14-match winning streak and took both of its bouts on Tuesday. The Trojans earned 5-0 sweeps over Concordia University Irvine and 12-ranked Hawaii. Seniors Megan Kraft and Delaney Maple won their 14th straight match as a duo and are now a near-perfect 19-1 on the season. With a trip to the South in sight, there's no slowing down for this USC squad. Kraft and Maple, who are both All-Americans, are now 47-4 all-time as a duo and are just shy of becoming the 8th USC pair to earn 50 wins. Taking sets with ease, they'll look to keep their momentum going as the season progresses. The Trojans will head to Baton Rouge, Louisiana for the Death Volley Invitational and will face TCU and Florida Atlantic on Friday. Annenberg Media's Pickle Coleman sat down with a USC women's golf star to discuss her future plans and the team's goals.
Today I'm here with Catherine Park. She's a sophomore on the USC women's golf team. So first, I'm just going to ask you a little bit about your journey at USC. I know last year as a freshman you played in every single tournament. You were like the 2nd best scorer on the team. Tell us a bit about your journey at USC.
Well, my first semester was a bit rough. I guess it was more of an adjusting period, and it was more to get to know the coaches. It was a different environment because usually golf is like an individual sport. I grew up like that, but coming to college is now like a team environment. So first semester was more of like an adjusting period, and then second semester is when I got the groove in, and then started off strong, ended strong.
So you guys won the Pac-12 championship last year. That's coming up this year. You've got 2 more tournaments until then.
Yes.
What are you guys doing to prepare? What is it looking like personally as a team?
Just working a lot on our yardages, probably in putting, just getting ready. Because the first 3 tournaments were rough because of the weather. Mm-hmm. But now we have better weather, and we're just getting all our reps in to get prepared.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And then personally, what's the biggest thing that you're working on? What are your goals for the rest of this season and then going through the rest of college?
I guess just getting my reps in of tournament practice, because a goal we all have is winning nationals individually and as a team, because we were so close last year when we lost, and then it's just I was you know what, we got this. like a win, another win in us.
What are your personal goals beyond USC? Do you see yourself going pro?
Yes, first, I do want to finish college first and then do my pro journey from there. Because I feel like college golf, I first thought of turning pro in when I was young, but then coming to college and my last few years of high school, I was like, no, I want to finish. And then you learn so much. I don't think people really know how much you learn, but with the coaches with you and being in this environment, you learn so much.
You've already kind of had a taste of some tournaments that are not directly in college. You played in the US Women's Open and the US Amateur. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Oh, it's a surreal moment, especially the US Open, because it's something where all junior golfers dream to play or have a chance of playing. And that was also knowing what you're getting ready for. So it was a great experience and something I will always look forward to qualifying for or wanting to play again.
Are you hoping to play in both of those tournaments again coming up?
Oh, of course, yeah. I have my US Open qualifier in April, and then Women's Am is also something I'm looking forward to.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited to watch your journey and the team's journey, and hopefully you guys get to that NCAA championship.
Thank you so much.
The USC women's dive team placed second at the Pac-12 championships earlier this month, as well as qualified for nationals. The Trojans took home second place in the Pac-12 championships as Cal took home the hardware. However, individually, the Trojans took home 8 individual and relay championships. The Trojans have 6 swimmers heading to nationals this year after stellar performances in the NCAA qualifiers as well as Pac-12 championships. The Trojans will be competing in mostly sprint events. Now, for our favorite time of the week, we'll send it over to Will and Thomas at the couch.
Will and I wish we could choose a member of the USC women's basketball team for our Trojan of the Week, but alas, they didn't play last week. I don't know about Mr. Camardella over here, but I still have a pretty solid Trojan of the Week in USC baseball's Austin O'Verne. The sophomore outfielder had a dreadful start to the season, but he's picking up his game just as the team is rounding into form. O'Verne and the Trojans took on Stanford and Long Beach State this past week, winning 3 of the 4 games. The fastest man on the field had multiple hits in all of USC's wins and compiled a .389 batting average this past week, scoring 6 runs and tallying 2 extra base hits.
I'm taking a player who is an absolute scoring machine, lacrosse attacker Ella Heaney. Heaney scored 9 goals in 2 games for the Trojans, including a 6-goal output against UC Davis last Saturday. She led USC in goals in both matchups this week. All right, I think we can both agree it's good that we can finally take USC baseball players again for this, but tell me why you went with O'Verne.
O'Verne helps the Trojans win. In their 5 opening games, they went 0-5. O'Verne went 1 for 19. And in these 3 wins over this past weekend against Stanford and Long Beach State, he went 6 for 14. So when O'Verne hits, the Trojans win. It's as simple as that.
Well, you cited that .389 batting average statistic. I'll give you a percentage as well, 81%. That's the percentage of Ella Heaney's shots in this over the course of the week that went into the back of the net. Only 2 shots she took didn't go in, every single one on goal. She is as efficient as it gets as an attacker, and she's the Trojan of the Week for sure.
But it comes down to quality of opponent, as it normally does in Trojan of the Week. UC Davis, one of the teams they played, 0-8 in their last 8 games against Power 5 schools, and then Dartmouth. They lost to Dartmouth. Dartmouth was previously 1-10 in their last 11 games against ranked schools. That's just poor opponents. It's not very good. And they lost to Dartmouth.
Yeah, if you want to open the door to bad opponents, let's talk about how bad Stanford baseball's been this year.
Oh, you mean the team that has made 3 straight College World Series and 2 straight Pac-12 champions? They've not been as good this year.
They've stunk this year. They're 9-9. They lost a series to Cal State Fullerton, and their pitching has been a disaster, second to last in the Pac-12 in ERA. Frankly, I'd hope your best hitter was able to hit in the 300s.
But you talk about a 9-9 team. Let's go back to the stats. 0-8, 1-10. 9-9 is so much better than a combined 1-18, Mr. Camardella.
Not when you consider Stanford's expectations, who they've lost to, and how many
runs
they've given up.
It's not expectations. It's what has gone on the field. That's what we're talking about here. That's why O'Verne's the Trojan of the Week. But that's all we have for Trojan of the Week this week. Coming up, one of the NFL's best defensive players announced his retirement. Opening day is just over a week away from Major League Baseball. We'll talk about this year's LA Dodgers team.
Bonjour, je suis le grand musique. Je suis la jeune fille.
Yes, that's French they're speaking. And no, these children aren't French. They're American. And they've acquired their amazing new language skills from Muzzy, the remarkable new video language program for children developed by the British Broadcasting Corporation. With this unique BBC language course, children learn a second language with incredible ease. 4 delightful videos quickly become their favorite TV show and teaches children the same way they learned English. Learning another language becomes fun. You'll be amazed when your children begin speaking and understanding their new language from the very first day through this unique method. The entire course, 4 videos, 2 audio cassettes, the activity book, and the parent's guide and answer book is available in French, Spanish, Italian, or German.
To order, use your credit card and call this number. We'll ship and charge you $28.08 a month for 6 months. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call 1-800-424-0700.
Okay, this stuff is really amazing. I mean, I put it in my mouth and I taste watermelon, but it's not just that. I taste strawberry too, but it's kind of like a watermelon-y strawberry put together. Hang on. Sorry about that. And the bubbles are really awesome. I mean, that's why they call it Max, I guess, obviously. That sort of makes sense once you think about it. Oh, I'm Dan, and that's Chuck. Hubba Max. A whole new kind of bubble. Hey!
Quarterbacks rejoice. The best defensive player in our generation is heading into retirement. Aaron Donald announced his 10-year NFL career was coming to an end last Friday. Donald played for the Rams for so long, he started out playing at Edwards Jones Dome in St. Louis after the Rams selected him in the first round of the 2014 NFL Draft out of Pitt. His retirement has been a long time coming, as he flirted with it after he won Super Bowl 56. Now, opposing quarterbacks are going to be celebrating as Donald is out of the league. Donald also had one of the best defensive careers ever from a defensive tackle, and he's going to be a surefire Hall of Famer. The 8-time All-Pro compiled 111 career sacks, which is almost unheard of from an interior defensive lineman. He also won 4 AP Defensive Player of the Year awards as he forced 24 fumbles, 176 tackled for loss, and 260 quarterback hits. I don't know what a 280-pounder will do in retirement. I don't know, maybe he'll pick up golf or something. The Rams have the 19th pick in this upcoming draft, and they'll try to replace an irreplaceable player.
The LA Clippers have slipped to 4th in the Western Conference and have dropped 4 of their last 5 games. While Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have stayed consistent, the team hasn't. LA is a mediocre 5-5 in March and has recently lost crucial games against other Western Conference contenders like the Timberwolves and Pelicans. New Orleans trails the Clippers by only half a game, so Los Angeles will look to create some separation in the standings as they'll take on the struggling Trailblazers for a pair of games next. The West has a lot more parity than the East. In addition to the Pelicans, LA will have to look out for the Kings, Mavericks, and Suns, who are all creeping close behind. With 15 games remaining, a lot of shifting can happen in the wild Western Conference. Realistically, how far is this Clippers team going in the playoffs this year?
I think they'll go as far until they play Denver. I think they're that good. They're the second best team in that conference, I think, come postseason time. And the biggest thing is, you said Leonard and George stayed consistent. The biggest thing is they've stayed on the court. Only 11 games missed between them. Usually it's way more than that. They're never able to build momentum in a regular season. I know they're slipping a bit right now. I don't really care about short losing streaks in the NBA. The regular season players don't seem to care as much. They've got their guys healthy. They're a more experienced team than a lot of the top of the bracket. If they avoid Denver, they'll keep advancing.
First off, Casey, I take offense when you say the struggling Portland Trailblazers. The Trailblazers are not struggling. We are right where they want to be. Second, I'm going to say that the Minnesota Timberwolves are who the Clippers need to watch out for. Anthony Edwards may seriously be the next face of the league. He's incredible. I mean, we all saw his dunk of the year against John Collins. I really think that he will be the man who stops the Clippers.
See, I think the only team that's going to stop the Clippers is the Clippers themselves. And you talk about injuries. Will, you mentioned, only 11 games missed by some of their top stars. But, you look at the ages of, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Russell Westbrook. Those are a lot of guys that are in their early 30s now, and those are a lot of guys that have had, big injury histories and have, missed a lot of games. I mean, Kawhi Leonard missed, a whole season. Paul George has missed a lot of games over the past couple of years, as has James Harden. So if they stay healthy, yeah, I can see them going pretty far, but I'm just not sure they're going to be able to stay healthy.
Well, they're 4th place right now in the West. I mean, if they have a 4-5 matchup against a good team like the Mavericks, Suns, some of the ones mentioned earlier, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, given the gauntlet of Western Conference teams, I mean, the West is just so much better than the East this year, and I don't know if they'll even make it out of the first round. I mean, injuries aside, I even think fully healthy, going up against a guy like Luka Doncic in a 7-game series, may I add, I don't know if they'll be able to win it.
Problem is Doncic has got to get out of a play-in. Same sort of deal with the Suns. You showed the standings earlier. Neither of those teams are guaranteed to be in the top 8 because the Lakers and Warriors on any given night could be dangerous to knock them out. So for me, I think the more dangerous teams are actually towards the bottom of the conference. The top of the conference, again, aside from Denver, looks a lot more favorable for the Clippers.
But look, I mean, we talked about March Madness getting hot at the right time. Same can be said heading into the playoffs in any league, and Clippers right now have been pretty underwhelming. And look, they had a great start to the season, but I just don't see them trending in the right direction, especially with the West heating up. I mean, you see teams like the Lakers getting a lot better, other teams in the Western Conference heating up. I don't know, but maybe they'll prove me wrong.
I do actually think that if the Clippers can get out of the West, they can win the NBA Finals. You know the Bucks, the Celtics, they're fantastic in the East. I think the Clippers are better than both of them.
Yeah, the only issue I have with the Clippers is I feel like we've been saying this for, 4 or 5 years now? Like, oh, look out for the Clippers and come playoff time. I'll believe it when I see it, to be perfectly honest.
This is the first time they've been healthy for this long. That's
true.
my only
That's
take
true.
for the Clippers.
I agree with that. Well, the MLB season is in full swing as the Dodgers season began bright and early with a game in Seoul, South Korea. The Dodgers and Padres started this season with the MLB's inaugural Seoul Series, where the first 2 games of the year were played in Seoul, South Korea. The Dodgers routed the Padres 5-2, scoring 4 runs in the 8th inning. The $300 million man, Shohei Ohtani, produced 2 hits and an RBI in his Dodger debut. Upcoming, the Dodgers take on the Padres once again in Seoul Series at 3 a.m. Pacific before heading back to the States for more spring training games against the Angels. Now that's going to do it from us here at Annenberg Media. I'm Terrence Holton.
I'm Will Simons.
And I'm Casey Kasliner. Thank you for watching.